Hi everyone, my name's Kit. Welcome back. Today's video is about permission to fail. So if you watched my last two videos, you would have saw some videos about being productive and being organized, and you would be thinking like, oh, maybe Kit's got her life together, that she's adulting quite well. But even when it comes to like making YouTube videos, I still have like my doubts and my fears. And even today's video, ironically, even though it's called Permission to Fail, I wasn't actually feeling very organized and I wasn't feeling very prepared. So I was like, oh, should I make this video or should I maybe wait another week? And I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway, because it's a video about permission to fail. So hopefully this will help you. So I wanted to tell you a story. So one time when I was at college, a psychologist came to talk to us about building resilience and helping us to have a coping mechanism. And one aspect of what she told us about was choosing a hobby, for example, that you're giving yourself permission to fail within that hobby. So opportunities to make mistakes, and that would be okay. And she said, choose a hobby that is actually different to your everyday task. So if you're like, for example, at your desk all the time and you're doing a desk job every day, choose something that's completely different. And yeah, so different in terms of also like if you're doing computer work or knowledge work a lot, then choose something that like requires your hands. So it's something completely different. The reason why she told us to pick a hobby that we can regularly fail at is because failure is good for our soul. And that's because it helps build up our resilience. We live in a world that is broken and messy and things don't go to plan as always. People fail us and also things just go wrong. And I think, having a hobby where we kind of fail regularly, this reminds us that we live in a world that is broken and that things don't go to plan as always, but that's okay. So I wanted to just share with you, I guess, my list of hobbies that I kind of like selected. So the first one I was thinking about was actually skiing, because I thought, oh, that would be fun, outdoors, beautiful scenery. But unfortunately, hobbies is something that you want to, she said, to do something every day or regularly, and I can't ski regularly because it's too far away. So that was a hobby that I kind of crossed off the list. The second thing she kind of talked about was cooking. So she gave an example from her own life about how she makes and bakes these little macaroon biscuits. So if you've ever baked before, macaroons are really hard. It's not something that is like as forgiving, and it needs to be precise, and it can easily fail. So that was something that she was doing because it's different to her kind of psychology work, completely different. So I actually gave baking a go as well. But I made marshmallows, and oh yes, I did fail. The first time I made it, it was a complete disaster. Instead of being, like pieces of marshmallows, it was like a blob of like sticky goo. And I made it once and I didn't make it again. And I was telling the same story about how I was making marshmallow to a friend, and he actually mocked me and said, oh, I see, you made it once and then that was it, you gave up. And then I was like, oh, you're right. I need to like pull myself together and give it another go, because failure is actually good for my soul. So I need to make marshmallows again. I can't just stop at once. I gotta keep going until I can make some marshmallows. Another hobby is guitar playing. So this is something that I took a little bit more seriously last month, in the month of May. And I kind of gave myself a rule of trying to practice at least every second day for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you know me, I can't clap in beat at church to songs. So I found like strumming something really, really, really hard. And in the beginning, it was really, really frustrating because I was like, I can't strum. But yeah, I kept practicing, and I was like, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. I don't have to be perfect at it. So I gave this a go. Again, it's different to something that I do normally in terms of a desk job. Another hobby that I have tried is also knitting. So this is the scarf that I knitted. It actually took me 5 winters to make. I started in 2016. It took a long, long time. And so it was something that, I use my hands to do, so away from the computer. And I'm not very good at knitting. And so I didn't know this, but because these bamboo sticks are actually quite big, it actually made it harder. And also this stitch, which is called the moss stitch, apparently is a very hard stitch. Again, I made it harder for myself. But during the whole time, I think I had that mindset of allowing myself the permission to fail. And so I wasn't fixated on the end result. I was okay about pulling it apart and restarting it, pulling it apart and restarted. Because I probably restarted maybe like 6 or 7 times. And when I failed, I didn't give up. I was like, that's okay. It's part of the learning process. By the end of the 5 or 6 years, I became really, really good at the moss stitch. So my mindset wasn't about the end result. It was about the process of learning. And also, I found myself that I was okay about asking for help. I found people who were good at knitting and I said, can you please teach me how to knit? Or can you please teach me how to reverse? Like when I get to made a mistake, how do I go back? And while I still haven't mastered the art and I still need help and I still make mistakes, even trying to reverse the mistake, it was really good, I think, like permission to fail. So what is this, I guess doing these hobbies and giving myself permission to fail, what have I learned? What has it got to do with being resilient? So one of the things that I've learned is that the result isn't the main goal. So it's not being result focused. The second thing that I've learned is that is about the process. Like actually there's a lot of things that you learn along the way, and sometimes, you know, I plan to go into one direction but it ends up being going in another direction, and that's actually the different direction still worked out quite well, or sometimes even better. So the third thing is that failure is okay as long as you learn from it, and I've actually learned a lot from, you know, failing, and that's okay. The fourth thing that I noticed, particularly when I was making this scarf, was that when things didn't go to plan, I didn't actually have any negative self-talk, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I think giving myself that permission, that space to try new things, actually gave myself also positive, I guess, speech. So the fifth thing that I've noticed is that, yeah, things are hard. Like hobbies that some people make easy actually is still hard. Like knitting, like heaps of people do it quite easily, but I found it really hard. But even though it's hard, I kept persevering, and I think that was really good for my soul. And I was actually kind of proud of myself for keep going, even though things are hard, to keep, you know, trying again and again and again. And the sixth thing that I've noticed and I've learned about myself is that while I'm naturally a perfectionist, giving myself permission to be not good at some things is actually really good for me, because I know I can't be good at everything, but actually kind of pinpointing some hobbies and saying it's okay to not be good at this. And that is just, yeah, I think it's liberating, and it's been so good. So I've been talking about permission to fail in terms of hobbies, and while this is a small and I guess not as significant thing, actually developing this mindset and practicing it in this kind of arena actually helps us to kind of cope when other things, like bigger things in life, goes wrong. So I want to encourage you to give it a go. Also, I noticed that for me, because I'm a Christian, I think that has actually given me, I'll say, more capacity to feel, I guess, secure in my failures. Because I know I have a God who is, you know, got my back. He allows me, you know, freedom to take risks. He loves me unconditionally, and even though, you know, things go wrong and I don't live perfectly, he still loves me. And I think there's a kind of safety net that I know that I can rely on, and so I'm really thankful for that. I'm going to give you permission to go and try something new and give it a go. Permission to fail, to do those things. And you might want to start with building a new habit or trying a new hobby, because these actions actually shape who we are, and these will help us to build our resilience. So I'm going to go make some marshmallows. I'll catch you next time. Bye! The reason why she told us to choose a hobby that we get permission to fail at is because that failure is actually good for our soul. Failure actually helps us to build resistance and build resilience. Not resistance, resilience. So I'm giving you permission to fail. Go and try something new. And, oh, I forgot already. Wait, permission to fail, habit, hobby. Okay. So I'm going to give you permission to go and fail. No. Okay, I'll start again. I might just stop.